Morning everyone, hope you're well. It's a beautiful day here. It's about 7 in the morning and I usually start my day. I'm usually woken up by the sound of cats. We have these community cats that kind of roam around and we take turns in kind of feeding them in the morning. So every time I wake up, I come down and I have a queue of cats forming around the corner. For any of you that have ever looked after cats, you'll understand that cats don't really have owners, they have staff. And that's exactly what I feel like. I feel like cat staff at the moment. So anyway, in terms of the video that I posted yesterday, I've been working with a friend of mine who's been gathering all the content together as well. And I had a lot of positive feedback in my inbox from people who wanted obviously to know how I got from where I was to where I am. And it seems like my story resonated with a lot of people. They had a very similar perfect storm, let's say, and they're struggling at this point in time. So what I want to say is, at this point, what I want to do is I want to keep these videos kind of short and concise, because I understand it's a lot for you guys to take in, especially when your senses are bombarded with all the stimulation that you have. I remember that, you know, my eyes would have all the visual stimulation, my ears would have all the tinnitus, and I would even get tactile stuff as well. So when all of your system feels like it's bombarded with stuff, it's very hard to take in a lot of information, to read a book, that kind of stuff. I get it. So I'm going to try to keep this as short, concise, to the point as possible. In terms of what I want you guys to understand is the first concept, and this is the most important concept, and if anything that you take away from this video, take this away, right? All the symptoms that you have, everything that you have is not a condition. Visual snow is not a condition. No matter what people tell you, no matter what's said about it, it's not a condition. It's a symptom of an underlying cause, which is a dysregulated nervous system. Okay, so get that point across. And to back that up, I mean, if you go into Lyme groups, mold toxicity groups, Bartonella groups, even COVID groups, people who have long COVID are complaining of visual snow now. What does that tell you? That tells you that there's an underlying cause there that's causing this symptom. So rather than go after all these symptoms, go after the underlying cause, which is the dysregulated nervous system. Once you take that and you bring that back to regulation, I guarantee you all of your symptoms will just dissolve day by day. That's what happened to me. And I know some of you will be like, well, it took you 2.5 years. 2 years I was fighting benzodiazepine withdrawal. I hadn't even got to the conditions that I had. I was suffering with withdrawal symptoms and I was trying to get off the pills. Had I never been on benzos, I guarantee I would have got to this point much quicker. And if I talk about my actual recovery, when I started putting these parts into place, it took about 3 to 4 months before things started just dropping off day by day. Things that I was worrying about just started to drop off. And it's almost like my body and my spirit and my soul, everything just started coming back into balance. And as that came back into balance, all of these symptoms just started falling away. So that's where I want to kind of lead you guys, and that's the path I want to take you on. So let's talk a little bit about what's out there right now. So I've been, you know, partial to the groups for the last 2 years. I understand about the VSI. I even donated money to them. I watched these videos of static for like hours on end via VR headsets, you name it. I tried everything. When people were talking about lamotrigine, when people were talking about Keppra, when people talk about anti-epileptics, antidepressants, I went down that road and I had some severe side effects from a lot of these drugs. Keppra, I mean, that just turned me into a raging madman. So, you know, I literally within 2 weeks, I understand. I mean, I understand how people cannot be on these drugs for a long period of time, because they often, the side effects are much worse than the condition itself. So again, these medications, they might improve your symptoms. Some people will come back and say, okay, lamotrigine improved my visual snow for a little while, or this antidepressant improved my visual snow. Benzodiazepines, I remember when I was taking benzos, they did actually improve my visual symptoms for a while. And I'll tell you why, right? It's not because of neurotransmitter imbalance. It's not because of some fancy receptor that they're targeting. Do you think a medication that is basically designed as a generic medication, right, and repurposed for something like visual snow, is going to go into your brain, into that part of your brain that deals with visual snow, and switch off that receptor? Because it's such a a fantastic medication. No, it's not. It's going to go in there, and the reason that it improves in some people is because it lowers inflammation in the brain. Now, scientists and doctors that I've been speaking to, this is stuff that's coming out now, that people are understanding why antidepressants work, why some of these medications work. It's simply because they reduce inflammation in the brain, right? When the brain is inflamed, you can have a million symptoms. Everything from schizophrenia to anxiety to light sensitivity to dizziness to vertigo. There's millions of symptoms that you can have, right, from an inflamed brain. And this is not just me saying this. This is something I've been working with. There's a very famous doctor from Med Institute in Cyprus. His name is Dr. Yuri Lilenko, and he's a Russian scientist that used to work back in time, and he has been seeing patients for over about 40 years, often patients that were disregarded by Western medicine, and they just had enough. And he sees the lost cases in a lot of cases, and he uses very kind of new age therapies, bioresonance, ozone therapy, chelation, a lot of different stuff. And we became friends over time, and he started to open my mind up to a lot of misinformation that he was he'd been present with a lot of his life. I mean, he told me stuff that just blew my mind. And the way that pharmaceutical companies work, the way that doctors work, the way that hospitals work, it just blew my mind apart. And everything just started to kind of come together. So in terms of, I will actually probably have him on at some point in a future video to discuss some of his experiences, because I think it will be very beneficial for you to kind of grasp that point that a lot of these medicines and a lot of these things, they're off purpose and they're not there to resolve these conditions. Okay, so you need to take your power back. You need to understand that there is an underlying cause, and that underlying cause is a dysregulated autonomic nervous system. So that's what we're going to be discussing in the majority of the videos, of how to rebalance your nervous system. Okay. Also, I remember there's been a lot of healers out there, a lot of people come in with spiritual healing, all this kind of stuff. And you know what? Everybody has good intentions at heart, I believe. I don't believe that people genuinely want people to suffer, with the odd exception probably. But I remember I was always suspicious when people used to jump into the group and be like, okay, I can help you, but this is the cost associated with it. So from my perspective, I'm not looking for any money. This is not something that I'm doing for money. I'm doing it purely based on the fact that I understand how desperate it is. I know what it's like to be forgotten by, doctors, be kind of outcast, and then a group of people that, just feel alone and are doing their own research and you're not really getting the support of Western medicine, because Western medicine is not designed to resolve these type of conditions. You need to understand that it's not designed to resolve these type of conditions. It's designed to, if you break your arm, you break a leg, you go there, you get fixed up, that's fantastic, it's great. For these kind of chronic illnesses, Western medicine is not your go-to, right? They're not going to be able to fix you. Okay, and I know if you're watching this video, it's because you've been down that road. You've been down that, you know where that road ends, right? You've been down that road 100 times. You've been trying to fix yourself with this medicine, with that, with this, with that. And where has it left you? It's just left you in a more desperate position, okay? So that's what you think you're going to understand, is these doctors do not understand chronic illness. They don't understand the aspects of chronic illness. And let me give you a quick story to highlight this. One of my friends, who's a very, very good doctor from South Africa, he went to the UK, and he was absolutely shocked, for starters, with the conditions in the UK. He went into the hospitals, he had to leave. He was absolutely shocked. He said that the subscription of antibiotics was just insane, because in South Africa, they only prescribe antibiotics in very, very, very severe conditions. But in the UK, they prescribe antibiotics for everything. And over time, what we're finding is the gut microbiome is being affected by long-term antibiotic use. I think in average, I saw a statistic where people have taken minimum of 7 to 10 rounds of antibiotics in their life. And these antibiotics, yes, they can kill some of the bad stuff, but they can also kill your gut microbiome. They can kill, stuff that's been in there that's valuable, and it takes years for that to grow up. So a lot of these illnesses, there are links between a lot of the new illnesses and antibiotic use. But anyway, I digress. So what he said was that when he actually graduated from university, what his university said was, look, 50% of what you're going to learn at university will not be applicable by the time you graduate. It's up to you to learn on the job, to use the fundamentals of what we're teaching you and go out in the world, find patients and do your own work. What I think's happened in the Western world is doctors in a lot of areas have become lazy, okay? And this is driven by the pharmaceutical industry, right? They're overworked, they're overpressured, and the solution to everything is a pill. Let's give this person a pill so I can just write him up, I can write that prescription up, and I can be done with it and I can see my next patient. That is how doctors work. You have to understand this. This is the mentality that a lot of them have. Not all, but a lot who are working in the system. They are overworked, underpaid, and the pharmaceutical companies are coming in, selling them medications that they are then putting over to people. So when I hear about lamotrigine, Keppra, all these, my mind boggles, because I'm like, these medications are not designed to deal with a dysregulated immune system. If anything, they're gonna make your immune system and your autonomic nervous system, they're gonna dysregulate that further. So I want you to kind of grasp these concepts, because these are very, very important. I had to really grasp these before my healing started, and it's all about taking responsibility for your own healing. Okay, taking responsibility, not giving it over to somebody else and expecting somebody else to fix you, because it's not going to happen. Okay, you can fix yourself. Our bodies are amazing things, right? Every second we generate different cells in our bodies. Our brain generates new cells. Our microbiome, we have inside us, we have colonies of different parasites. We have a whole ecosystem happening within us. We're not the same person 5 minutes. I'm not the same person I was 5 minutes ago, you know? So our body can generate all the chemicals it needs to heal itself from chronic conditions. And I'm telling you this now, it's 100% true. Everything that we have within us. And it's just about tweaking some things, about understanding how the system works and how to bring it back to balance. Because once you bring it back to balance, it's a beautiful thing. The body just starts going into autopilot and it starts to resolve these things by itself. So that's the first thing that I wanted to take. So I just want you to take that in, soak that in, and over the period of the next few weeks, I will be releasing more videos, and step by step, I'll take you through the path that I took to regulate my nervous system. And there were some core things that I applied, as well as external stuff that I did as well. It's not expensive. It's not going to cost a lot of money. I'm aware that, you know, a lot of you have probably spent a lot of money trying to get to the bottom of this, and a lot of you are probably not working. Some of you might be on benefits. I get that. I had to quit my job about 3 years ago, and I understand that. So everything that I'm going to tell you is pretty much free. So keep the comments, keep a lot of love in the comments. As I said, I'm not doing this for any other reason apart from to just try and help, because I understand, I know exactly where a lot of you are coming from. So yeah, and subscribe, because that way you can keep up to date with my videos. Cheers guys, take care, bye.